Hello, how's it going, Sleuth?
Good. How are you doing, Jason? Thank you so much for joining us today. It looks like we are live. We got a full house here.
Well, thank you
So,
for having me.
yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for being willing to provide all this information. You know, we have been covering the Delphi case, and you yourself had spent some time in both of these prisons, right? That have been recently in the news.
Yeah, correct. I was actually the segregated housing unit at Westville where Richard Allen would have been. I would have been there. And then at Wabash, I was not at that segregated unit, but I was at the facility.
Not in the segregated unit.
Not at Wabash.
Okay, let's take a look here. So this was the news here. Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen has been ordered to be moved from Westville Correctional Facility to another prison in the state. According to court documents, Allen's next stop is Wabash Valley Correctional Facility in Carlisle, Indiana. That's in Sullivan County. The order to move Allen was signed by Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita and is dated December 6, 2023. So, how long have you been kind of looking into the Delphi case, if at all?
Kind of since almost the beginning. Just the tragedy of it got me, and just the fact that I was in Indiana before, so. But just yeah, the tragedy and just not knowing, and that's what got me into it more was just the longevity of not finding anybody. You're just hoping that they would.
So, what did you think when you heard this news? Being you spending time in both of these facilities, did something just automatically click? Like, well, they must be moving in because of this, or were you curious as well?
No, I think I think the Odinist Circus act that happened kind of played a part to it. Is definitely more of just security. At least what I feel. Westville, sure they did have that secure housing unit, but it was more of a minimum security facility. And Wabash is more of a higher level. They have, the level 3 and 4 side. So it
Okay.
was, more of a secure area.
So it's been some time. I mean, since you've been in there, you gave me your information to look up just to verify. You know, you gave me permission to do so, and I mean, you were in there for some real serious shit, man. You'd spent some real time. So you think the atmosphere is pretty similar to when you were kind of walking those hallways as it is now today?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, this this newer generation is definitely a lot different, but I'm sure it's still, the craziness. Just prison is definitely not a fun place. But between the two, I don't know. With Westville, it was more of a younger, definitely a younger crowd. They was getting there. They didn't have much time, so maxing out and being with their buddies really wasn't a bad thing for some of them. But then,
Really?
Wabash, you have people doing a lot of time, so it's more of a serious thing there.
And this is Westville right here, right?
That is Westville.
Okay, let me go find Wabash here. And this is the Wabash facility.
Yeah, it would. So actually, that let very I don't know how to explain it. So you have kind of there we go. Okay, so like you have the top left on your screen, if that's going to be the secured housing unit.
Right here.
Actually, see, yeah, if you look on like the edges, the corners, those are going to be like the cells or the outside recreational areas. It's actually cages. Yeah, right there where your mouse is. Those are actually cages, so they can go
So
outside and
there's
get
four of
themselves
them.
showered. Correct. And then
Okay.
the housing units to the right, that's going to be the level 4 side.
These four here.
Yes. And how it's set up is I don't know 4 side. I don't know if it's 1-man cells or 2-man cells. But it's pretty much it's divided in half. And then like the guard shack would have been, so if you look where like the V comes in, kind of just inside of there, that's where like the main guard shack would have been.
Uh, oh, right here.
If you look at the building, see how there's like a V in cut, like move
Oh,
around.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So like right there, that's like where the entrance to the building would have been.
Okay. Right here's the door.
Yeah. And then like the building's divided in half. Well, I'm not exactly, I don't know. I've never been on the 4 side. I'm just going off of how like the level 3 side was, which actually, just would be like to the bottom side. That would have been the level 3 side.
So where do you think they were holding? They would be holding Richard Allen here.
So that left section right there, that segregated housing unit. So with him being a county, not he's never been convicted, they're going to keep him where it's super secure. He's going to be in there 23 hours a day. He's only going to come out. He's going to have shackles on his feet. He's going to be cuffed behind his back. That's even to go to the shower. They're going to bring the food to him. They're going to bring everything to him. He's pretty much not going to leave his cell if he don't have to or if he don't want to.
So when he comes out here, is he all alone? When he comes out to this
Yeah.
yard
Well,
area?
he would be in his own cage. As far as I'm pretty sure they probably would, kind of keep him segregated just because he's not convicted.
Okay. So what's your opinion? What do you think? Why is he being moved? Just with knowing what you know.
I think it's kind of the court just covering their backs just to make sure there's not like a mistrial with that. Like I said, the Odinism, I call it a circus just because I think that's what it is. Um, but it's definitely it is kind of common with people that are in long-term segregation. Just kind of a short story, I guess. There was one guy I was there with because I actually was in the long-term seg unit for a year.
Okay.
Um, and what happened was he was involved in a hostage situation at one of the other prisons. So what they do is he's basically going to be in seg for the rest of his term, life in prison in seg, and they're just going to continuously move him from Wabash to Westville, back and forth. It's just that's how the segregated housing units work.
Why did they do that?
I honestly don't know. I don't know if it's just like security or if they if maybe there's some kind of like law where they're not allowed to keep them in the same facility for so long, or
Do you think it
I
has
honestly
anything
don't
to
know.
do with money?
It could be the prisons are cash cows.
I was wondering if that was it. What about Keegan Kline and this? Do you think that has anything to do with anything?
I think I seen a comment. Somebody was saying that he is at Wabash. Is
Hmm.
that true or
Yep. Him and
that's
that other guy
interesting?
Chadwell.
That is interesting. I mean, there's no way that they would see each other unless Keegan. I mean, I guess if Keegan, because he would probably be in like a protective custody, which they would probably put him in the secured housing unit.
Because you told me, so this is going to be Westville, right?
Yes,
Okay, and you were saying that this is where Richard Allen would have been staying there.
yes, correct.
Okay, so they have this completely separate, huh?
Yeah, so actually, what you're pointing at right now, that would have been the first area. Well, so that is the secured housing unit. That little encircled housing unit, that would have been general services complex.
So the
So
yard is kind of like this whole outside area.
well, there's no yard. That's the secured housing unit. So that's long-term seg. So you're not
Mm,
going outside.
yikes.
But that area where you're at, like that area to the south right there, so that's the GSE. That's when you first go into the prison. That's where you go. That's where there's one, I think three, four, five, six, seven, eight center, 9 and 10. Those are all the dorms. Five dorm would actually be like the psychiatric unit. But the thing is, like, so that whole section, all those dorms are open. There's no cells, or it's just wide open dorms. So there's no control.
It's just beds everywhere.
Exactly, yeah.
That sounds dangerous.
It can be, but like once again, it's supposed to be a minimum security facility. So this is more of like the people that doing 2 years, 3 years. They might be doing 5 or 10 years. It might be somebody that's doing 20 years and they're on their last few years and getting ready to go home, and they've just been good throughout their prison sentence. So they're at a lower level facility.
How much time did you do? You were sentenced to what, 20, but you got out early, right?
Well, I was sentenced to do 12. I was supposed to do 6, and I did 9.
Oh, okay.
Young and dumb. But yeah, so I did roughly about 5 years at Westville. Another year at that secured, and so the unit at Westville is actually called MCC. It's a separate prison actually. And then did about 3 years at Wabash.
And is this where you finished up here?
Yeah, that's where I went home from.
Okay, now what's the major difference here?
So all of the prison is either one or two man cells. Um,
Okay.
you're so at Wabash, you're pretty much you're inside the cell for 20 hours a day. You're outside, like outside, for about an hour a day, and then you get 3 hours inside, like the day room. That's your time to shower and hang out with your friends, and but that's pretty much like the only two difference. I don't see the reasoning for like the transfer, just because the only difference really, they're both going to be in a secured housing unit. He's still going to be locked up 23 hours a day. Um, I think it's more of just, the Department of Corrections trying to cover their tracks just to make sure there's no, mistrial for, whatever's going on with the allegations.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Might as well get all his complaints addressed before the trial starts, even if there is a trial. There might not be, but if there is going to be one, they might as well start with a clean slate. So that makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Yeah, it's the only thing I can think of. I mean, really, either place he's going to be secure. He's not going to, if something was to happen, I mean, everything, they do have cameras at, both facilities. So, but then what does that stop?
So what do you think about this whole Odinist stuff? I mean, are you seeing any guards? I mean, what's going on with that whole theory? Do you think does it hold water at all? Have you seen anything strange going on with the guards? Have they I feel like if you were a guard and you were mistreating a prisoner, you're like kind of risking your career in a way.
No, they do mistreat them. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. I could tell you some crazy stories, but we're not really gonna get into that. But as far as Odinism, the only thing I know about that is I've seen prisoners that were into Odinism. I don't know of any like guards or I actually was kind of shocked that they had patches that said "In Odin We Trust." That I'm surprised that the DLC allowed them to wear those,
Really?
because it seems like it's a religious thing. So if it's a religious
Hmm.
thing, I thought we was kind of, you know, everybody was trying to supposed to kind of stay away from that. But
What do you think about that leniency? Do you think there was something?
well, I mean, it's Westville is corrupt. I'm not gonna lie. There's so much that goes on there. There were stories of, one inmate got pushed through the dishwasher machine, had
Oh
like
man.
severe burns throughout over his whole body. Oh, I'm surprised you guys didn't hear about that. It was a huge case several years ago. Um, yeah, a lot of stuff went down there. I mean, it's a lot of people from either like the Gary area, um, Chicago. That's what happens, is a lot of the young people, they get sent up there just because they're able to be closer to their families for visits.
And Gary's a pretty rough area, huh?
Gary and Chicago, yeah, they're both pretty rough areas. I want to say there was when I was there was actually a riot at Westville. Had to call the state police and shooting tear gas and stuff. I had a friend that was 30 days from going home, and unfortunately, he didn't go home because of that.
Well, according to this memorandum here, it says here that Richard Allen is being threatened, intimidated, and mentally abused.
I mean, I could see that. Definitely, people, especially as big as this case is, prisoners have nothing but time, so I'm sure they know all about the case. So I'm sure there's a lot of, talk going around the cell that, the block that he's in.
Yeah, and I think they're referring to the actual guards. They said that apparently they were tasing him in the hands. I don't know if you heard that report.
I did not. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you have, good, just like with the police force, you have good cops and bad cops.
Yep.
So you are going to have, especially, they also know, where the cameras see and where the cameras don't see. So, it's possible that something could be happening. I mean, it could be so it's just, hey, hear cases all the time, just people that, are bad in whatever reason, there's always somebody that wants that revenge. Um, what lengths are you willing to go through to get that revenge?
It's a big trophy.
Could be for the right person, sure. No, definitely. He's definitely got a hopefully a long life of hell. If he did this to those kids, he deserves whatever happens to him.
Yeah, hopefully he'll make it to court. It says here, correctional facility. The evidence shows that during his pretrial incarceration at Westville Correctional Facility, Richard Allen has been monitored, intimidated, and mentally abused by correctional officers who are also members of the Odinite cult. Two of those correctional officers are named, and then they name those folks. Have you seen any activity like that?
Um, Not Odinist. Like I said, that was only something I knew of as more of like a prison, I guess, religion. Um, as far as like COs, sure. I mean, there was some COs were gang members, different gangs. I mean, they the CEOs kind of run the prison, but the prison is actually run by the inmates.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those COs are, part of how else do you think they get their contraband? And it's not all coming in through visits.
It's probably lucrative.
It's a lot of money. I mean, if you figure, if somebody's willing to pay you, say, you know, $500 to bring them in a carton of cigarettes, it's a lot of money.
Heck yeah. If anybody in the chat has any questions for Jason, let me know. Right now, I'm just kind of going through the memorandum that was leaked out from his previous defense team. Anything in regards to Westville? Let's see. Now, if he had anything medical going on, would that be a reason to send him over there to Wabash Valley?
I mean, I guess it possibly could.
Because I keep hearing that a lot. Like they have some kind of more advanced facilities, I guess.
Well, it's definitely a newer facility. Westville used to be, I believe, an old a psych hospital back in like the 60s or 70s, and then they closed it down. Like it's so old, they have tunnels and stuff underneath it that they've closed down, and like nobody's supposed to go down there anymore. Wabash is definitely a newer prison. Everything's electronic. Um, as far as like, would I say their medical's better? Maybe, maybe not. I wouldn't trust. It's all state run. I mean, they honestly they don't care. You're just a number.
Yep. So the way you make it sound as if going back and forth to these facilities really isn't an indication of anything.
Not really. I mean, it could be. But I honestly don't think it is. I think it's just more, like I said, them just kind of covering their
Mhm.
behind. But what do I know? It's all politics.
So what's he going through right now? They're checking him in, and
Well, the check-in process is actually really quick. Once he would have got to the facility, they would have brought him into medical, checked his vitals, the usual, strip search, make sure he doesn't have anything, and then they would have brought him straight to his cell, and whatever property he would have had with him, he wouldn't have gotten until probably about 2 or 3 days later.
so you think they're just moving him over here so they will stop complaining and making up these stories, or at least this is the state's way of addressing the whole Ode Night thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
You might
Because
be right.
it's definitely not for being any closer or anything. It's not anything about the security because they're both, the same, 24-hour lockdown. So,
They're probably both equally corrupt.
yeah, more than likely. I mean, it's all state run. You'd be surprised how much. Actually, I mean, I would say Westville definitely had, at the time, more contraband. But just because at Wabash you didn't really have much contact. You might see somebody in the chow hall, but you might not. You didn't really go to rec with other dorms. So it was kind of hit or miss if you was able to get in touch with somebody.
What about people getting unalived in there? You ever heard of anything like that with like the guards maybe being under suspicion?
Um,
Is that realistic?
Nothing really. I mean, Wabash.
Epstein, I guess. Get Epsteined.
um, no, I mean at Westville, there was actually a few people that actually got killed at Westville. Wabash, I don't really remember hearing anything. You
Seems
know,
easy, like a guard just leaving a door open for a second, and
yeah.
then that's it.
Well, and that was the thing with like Westville because once you got back to the dorm, it's open dorms or some dorms you did have 2 or 4 man cells, but there's no door, so you can still just kind of come and go as you please.
I don't know. It just seems hard. Like inmates wouldn't risk like messing around.
Some
I know
inmates,
I wouldn't. You know.
some inmates just don't care. Like I said, when I was at Westville, the difference is okay. So, like I said, Westville, you have people that are not really doing a lot of time. So, say if you hypothetically, if you go to prison on a 2-to-1 sentence, does it really matter if you do that extra year and you get to have the time of your life, or if you do 1 year and you kind of, just be, the bunk bandit and you just sit there all day and you sure you get to go home, but some of these people they don't care. This is, I knew one person. I'll just come to mind. This guy named Jerome. I don't remember his last name. And for the 5 years I was at Westville, he went home and came back 5 times. Like prison saved this man. And I mean, unfortunately, that doesn't. Some people it does help. Some people enjoy that life. Maybe they just don't have nothing on the outside. And I mean, it is kind of scary, but not everybody has the best life.
Yeah, and sometimes you grow up just expecting that prison's just the second part of your life. You're
Yeah,
just
you kind of
expecting to
know what's
go to
coming.
prison. Yep. You prepare for it. The whole time you're young and a teenager, you prepare for and you expect to be in prison eventually. For a lot of people, it's that way.
Yeah. What was I just thinking of? I'm sorry. So as far as like the shoe, actually, the Discovery Channel had did a couple hour documentaries on like all 3 level sides of the shoe. Um, so
That's here.
yeah, correct. So well, that would be the shoe side and the level 4 side, and then the down area would be the level 3 side. It's
That's
constant
right here.
lockdown. Yeah. So like the bottom two, the circle around the bottom left side, that would be the 5 dorms. So I don't remember the letters. I think it would be KLMN, and then P would be like off the screen. Or actually K, that would be K, I think. Well, so that dorm half and half, the right side was the juvenile unit. Um, so like the top left on your screen, the last square.
Top left.
Oops, yeah. So
Right here.
no, just below that dorm. So like the right side was the juvenile unit, and the left side is the psychiatric unit. And it's possible they, if say this is like a mental reason why they're, transferring them there. I mean,
Hmm.
I guess it's possible they could move them over there. Just because of, I think when they do their like rec and chow hall and stuff, they don't let them all out at once. They only let like, a certain amount out at a time. So it's possible that, they might even have them over there just because, they can still have them locked up, and just bring them out for rec by himself.
So, do you think they're moving him over here? Are they going to give him a good look over, or it's just going to be the same deal as what he was doing at Westville? Are they going to really give him like an evaluation, or you just think they're just moving him and it's no big deal?
I
Same
mean,
thing, just different place.
I'm sure they're going to end up giving him an evaluation. I mean, just from, the stuff that the media has put out, I mean, who in their right mind eats paperwork? I mean, it says, even if
Have you
there's
seen
two.
anything like that? I heard that was normal, like people trying to hide their stuff, or is that bullshit?
Well, I mean, sure, you might, rip it up and throw it away. You're not going to eat it.
Yeah,
Um,
there's so many different ways to get rid of
but
it.
who in their right mind is going to be on a live recorded phone call and admit to, murdering somebody? I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but, who in their right mind is going to do that?
Mhm.
Obviously something is going on there. Either maybe, maybe there is something going on with, the COs at that Westville prison, where maybe they was harassing them, saying that either you admitted or you did it. It's kind of because it's kind of almost like maybe like a hazing you would see in like a military, or maybe that's what they was doing. Maybe that's the harassment he was having. Um,
And even if they're accusing him, this is kind of like a way of addressing it either way.
yeah,
I mean, let's see, 3 hours, 210 miles. Why the hell are they going to move him? But you're
um,
just saying that's typical.
yeah, and I mean, there's no other real facilities in the state where they can send them. At one point, they was talking about sending death row to the Westville segregation unit.
Now, what is the point of all that? Is it just the ability to monitor these folks like 24 hours a day? Is that what they're focusing on?
Yeah, definitely. Just because it's it's segregation. You're in your cell. You're not coming out unless they push that button to open the door, and they're not going to do that unless they've already handcuffed you and put a leash on you and make sure that you're not going anywhere.
Here's a comment by Ariel. Wabash also is one of 3 prisons with certain mental health treatment capabilities.
Oh, interesting. I knew they had like a drug program, a certain rehab drug program, um, but I think that was after I left.
Okay, so you don't buy into any of the conspiracy stuff regarding the guards.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure the abuse. I feel like that's everybody's getting abused most likely by these guards. Having a bad day, taking it out on people. 1 out of
uh,
10, maybe
yeah, I mean, some of them definitely, bring it upon themselves. But definitely,
antagonizing them.
sure. I mean, when you're a prisoner, you have nothing better to do sometimes. I've done a lot of ignorant stuff when I was locked up. But definitely, it could be, just taking them to the shower. Oh, you did it. Why don't you just admit you did it? Something like that. Because who's to say that they actually said it, and who's to say that they didn't say it? They don't wear body cameras.
Yeah, I wonder if they should.
Yeah, no, because I mean, but then again, I mean, they're not going to pay for them to wear body cameras. You know, because they can definitely cover up the stuff they don't want you to know about.
Yeah, because I mean, there's cameras all through the facility, right? Not everywhere, of course. I'm sure there's going to be some blind spots that get exploited, but for the most part,
Well,
uh,
Westville, I don't think there was really a lot of cameras. There might have been some at the MCC unit, but the rest of the prison, there really wasn't many cameras that I know of. But Wabash, there was, a few that I know of, but nothing like major.
now why not keep this man in a county jail?
I think that might just be more well, because this is isn't this a small county that he's from?
Carroll County, Indiana.
Yeah, but I don't know. Is that a smaller county or?
Mm, not sure.
I mean, it's not going to be like Indianapolis.
No,
I mean, it's
nothing like that.
possible maybe they just don't have, a housing unit where they can keep them separated from other people. Maybe it's, just, your Barney Fife jail where it's a couple cells, 4-man cells or something.
Well, where are you more likely to? Let's say you're being targeted. Where are you more at risk? A county jail or a big prison like Wabash and Westville?
I would say a county jail, just because you have everybody from your drunk driver to your murderer all in the same cell. So you don't know you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I could seriously, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen in jails just on that. You don't know who it is. You don't know what they're locked up for. You don't know, when you get into that process, there hasn't been any kind of, say, mental health check or, so it's possible you could have, say a Boston Strangler or something in the cell. You never know.
Were you in there with anybody like that? Anybody that was, making headlines and stuff?
Not in the county jail. I think I was locked up with a brother who was accused of robbing a bank. I think him and his brother and father was accused of robbing banks. Um,
Oh, plural. Banks with an
yeah,
S.
banks. It was actually it
Wow.
was in Evansville. I think it was also in Illinois and Kentucky. I don't
Bank
remember their
robbers.
names. I was at Wabash Valley with somebody who was on the FBI's most wanted list. That was pretty funny.
I bet they had some stories for you.
Actually, no, I didn't like the guy. He came from another prison, and I had seen a ripped up note where he was writing back to an investigator back at the other prison about some stuff going on. So we didn't get along too well.
Oh, he was a snitch, a jailhouse snitch.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, you're not seeing anything strange going on. This is typical. So, I mean, we could move on to your personal opinions on what you think's going on with the investigation and your overall thoughts on everything.
Sure. I mean, I definitely from the beginning felt like it wasn't just one person. I still don't. One person is kind of hard to control two people, even kids. I have a daughter that's 12, so I can imagine another one of her running around. It's going to be kind of hard to control two of them. So either maybe they didn't know or he didn't know, that maybe they thought one was coming, or maybe it was multiple people, him on one side of the bridge and somebody on the other side of the bridge.
That's what I'm
Uh,
thinking. I think we might be dealing with something like that too.
Yeah, it was interesting. Actually, the other day when I was watching your live, and so that was some new information where I think Keegan had posted about basically admitting that he had dropped his father off to help Richard.
Hmm.
And I kind of felt, from the beginning, I was originally, as soon as I heard about that Anthony Shots profile, I was like, well, that's, red lights going off. What's going on here? And then, when he came out about, oh, well, I was sitting in the Jeep. Well, hold up, what's going on? What are you doing? Just kind of like sitting in a Jeep. Now this has come out, and it's just kind of like everything kind of comes together. It's like, I don't know if you know, but when there's a story, there's normally some kind of truth to that story,
It's like a
even
half
if it's
truth.
just a little bit. Yeah.
We talk about that a lot on my channel.
Yeah. Just that little bit. There's something to it. So yeah, definitely. I don't know how. I've been looking and looking. I can't find no link. There's no link with Richard Allen with really anybody. It's kind of crazy.
That might be by design. What do you think? I think you might have spent some time trying to, remove that link.
Well, it could be. The one thing I did learn in prison is, one way to not get caught is to never tell anybody. So, I mean, if you don't have, say, a social media profile, you don't have anybody knowing your business, it's kind of hard to prove anything to have any kind of association. So it's possible maybe he did kind of just, he was a, and if you look at his pictures, he kind of, he has like a loner kind of, leave me alone face. So it's possible, maybe he just kind of, kept.
You there? Jason, I think we lost you. I don't have any audio for you, Jason. So we'll go to the chat while Jason figures out what's going on with his audio. You might have to go out and come back in. I'm not sure.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
Oh, okay. There you are.
And they're not cut out for a second.
So I think we
Um,
missed about a minute of what you were saying there.
so I was just saying, wasn't he when they searched his house? Didn't they get a whole bunch of funds from him?
Yeah, I think like 16 or something like that.
It'd be interesting to find out what kind of information they've gotten from that. So I can't wait. When is the trial? Isn't that early this year? Early next year?
Early next year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to find out what they did find. If we're able to find out, because I'm telling you, they're going to have to find some. There's somebody else involved here. It's definitely not just him.
What do you think about him not having any other charges prior to that?
That doesn't mean anything.
Did you
I
meet any
mean,
old first time offenders?
what do you mean?
Like while you were in prison, did you meet anybody that was kind of like around middle age to around 50 years old, where they had committed a serious crime for the first time around that age group?
Um, I can't think of any. Just what I was thinking of though, when you were saying about this is, how many times do you hear about, um, you know, like the BTK? Oh, this guy's such a nice guy. He's so friendly.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I knew his well, I didn't know him, but I met somebody that grew up with Richard Allen, and they went through elementary school, from elementary all the way through high school. They were each other's rides to school, and their families knew each other. And he told me that they weren't really friends because through that whole time, Richard Allen was the quietest person that he had ever met in his life.
Hmm. Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, that's anybody. I guess just kind of what I was saying is just, um, like with anybody, the just because it's your first time getting caught, it doesn't mean it's the first time you've done something. He could have easily been, some serial killer that's, killed 20, 30 other people, and this is just his first time being caught.
Because I mean, he
You never
almost got
know.
away. He almost got away with it.
He did, and that's also amazing. Like, how did he from day one put himself there, and they just never, up until recently. It's amazes me.
I just feel like
Um,
some people have the ability to kind of do that Jedi mind trick on you, just to kind of look like almost be invisible.
yeah,
Some people can do that.
that charm. Yeah, definitely. Some people have it.
Hmm.
Just like they say, some people can have that gift of gab, talk their way out of a situation.
Yeah, you have the opposite. Some people can be completely invisible. I think he might have been that kind of person where even though he was there, he was just so quiet, you just kind of forget about him.
I don't know. I think it's more of he's just an introvert. He didn't do anything. If you ever see the pictures, he just has that mean look on his face, like he just doesn't want to be there.
No matter
Uh,
what, huh?
yeah,
He's
like I
just
mean,
not
just
happy.
think the one video that stands out to me is the one where I think it was his wife walking up to the car and he's on his phone
Hmm.
and he has that like a mean look, like why are you here? I
Yeah,
mean,
he's
then
got
again,
the
I
eyes
mean,
of a killer for sure.
what did he get caught doing that he had that look on his face?
Yeah, he was hiding something. So you think they're gonna find something, huh? With all those phones and with his search warrant, you think there's something there?
There has to be. I mean, if there, well, I don't want to say there has to be, because he would have had to done something for that information to be there. Um, but there has to be some other person. Somebody had to have been there. There's no way that he did all this himself. I always thought Ron Logan, could have had something to do with it, just with his phone pinging all over his property. If either he was, curious, trying to look to find something to help, but if he was, how did he not see something? I
Well, I
mean,
had a
that dude's
weird thought yesterday about Ron Logan. Like, what if the killers used because he has a barn that nobody really notices that's between his home and the crime scene. It's much further back, closer to the cemetery, and down near where you would enter the woods if you were entering the crime scene from his property. So I had this crazy thought that if the killers used that small shed to commit the murders and Ron Logan came home and found them, do you think he would be motivated to say, "Hey, they're trying to pin this on me. I'm gonna go move the bodies down there by the creek"?
that could have very well happened.
You think anything weird like that? I mean, I don't have any proof of that. It was just a thought that I was having, but I mean,
Well, so here's one thing I don't think I ever understood, even all the videos I've seen. So was the where the bodies were found? Did they search that area already, or did they not search that area?
yeah, they did. but it was kind of like in a bowl. So it kind of went down, and then being covered with sticks, I can see them being overlooked pretty easily. Especially if you look at the trail that goes back there. I'm assuming the searchers are going to stay on the trail as much as they can, and it kind of goes around where the bodies were found.
Okay.
And remember, it's pitch dark out there, you know. But they did search the area,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
they talked to Mike Patty, and he said that he doesn't know for sure whether or not the girls were taken somewhere else and then brought back. So
yeah, that was always just kind of, because I've heard stories, just, all the videos I've watched from all the different people that's covered this, where apparently, there was some kind of parties and stuff that happened out on that property. And, you know, um, obviously I don't want to talk about the man because he can't defend himself. But that's always something I always just kind of wondered was, was Richard Allen going to try to use that theory of, casting the blame on him since he can't defend himself? But then again, that wouldn't really help him either. Wouldn't, as far as, say if he was to blame him, well, they're going to be like, well, then if you knew about it, then how come you didn't say anything, which still makes him an accessory.
yeah, it would have been a good tip. I mean, it's almost obvious that Richard Allen committed this crime. I think you hit it on the head. The question is, who helped him? And I think somebody was waiting, already down on that end, um, and may have been the cause of the crime. May have been motivating Richard Allen to assist them, in the crime in some way.
And that's another weird thing is like, what is the motivation for this? If it started out as chats, is this obviously something bigger? Who just decides that, oh, today we're gonna go out and, do this? This isn't something you just do for the first time.
Yeah, I mean there are thrill kills, but I mean, why would you sit there and plan this kind of a murder? You think you would do it differently. You wouldn't do it in the middle of the day. It seems highly motivated.
And it's definitely planned.
So
Uh,
what's going on with Richard Allen right now? What's he doing? Is he just sitting all alone in a jail cell?
well, more than likely, I mean, if he's in the secured housing unit, he's probably not getting much sleep unless they're giving him like medication to help him sleep. More than likely, a lot of people's yelling and screaming,
And he can hear
banging
him
on doors. Oh yeah, it's pretty much I don't know how to describe it. Like you
like a
walk in, say
sport.
a main door, it's just a long line of doors of cells. So just like kind of your typical, if say to imagine, I guess like if Alcatraz, but just instead of like cage doors, actual metal doors.
They're banging on the walls, huh?
Yeah,
Calling him a
just
child killer
sure, constantly. That's what they do. They have nothing better to do.
all night, huh?
Yep. So some of the people that get put back in the secured housing unit, they do have mental issues. Some people are back there. They're known for throwing human waste on the COs.
That's
That's why
nasty.
that's why they keep them in there, so that way they're in those cells 23 hours a day. And most of them are in there for like fighting the cops or you know just constant violence, or they're there for a reason.
Now, are they shipping people in from out of state, or is it all just Indiana and sometimes Chicago?
Well, what I was saying about the Chicago is just, people from Chicago come into Indiana and catch their case, so they move them up there
Mm,
just so they can be close to family. There was a time when I was actually locked up right before I went home. I'd say early 2000s, where they were shipping people from Indiana to like Kentucky, and I think it was like Arizona, but these were privately owned prisons. I don't know if there's really any privately owned prisons anymore. I did see actually one of your viewers asked a question about the psych units at the facilities.
mhm.
So At Wabash, it's a half of a cell unit, and it's all one man cells. They keep everybody separated. They don't really leave the cells except for to go outside for, I think it's 1 hour, like every couple, maybe 1 hour a day. Um, and they bring everything to them, their food, their medication, everything. And at Westville, so there was two actual, there was a hospital unit, and then there was a psych unit. The psych unit it was just kind of an open dorm. So, everybody's just still kind of there. There wasn't really cells, so you're not really separated from anybody. So it's, like I said, it's more of kind of a joke at Westville. There's not really any security.
Is there a lot of violence there?
I would say, yeah, it was definitely more violent there than at Wabash. You would think it was the opposite, just because, there's more violent people at the higher level, but I don't know. There was just more violence at that lower level facility. I think it was just more people didn't care.
If somebody wanted to, could they get to Richard Allen? You
I
think,
I,
or is
I
it
would
impossible?
I would say where there's a will, there's a way. I don't know. Did you cover the case with Katie's Revenge? I believe you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I did a while ago. That's
That
an
act,
interesting case.
yeah, that's where there's a will, there's a way. But that obviously wasn't in the secured housing unit. But I mean, I don't know if I could have you. Do you know who Thomas Silverstein is?
Not right off the top, no.
You should look into him. He had a book written about him. He was in a federal
Silverstein?
prison. Yeah,
Tommy?
Thomas. Yeah, so he is the reason they built a level 6 facility. Um, he basically was murdering guards. He actually murdered a guard while he was in segregation.
Oh, wow.
I want to say he started his prison sentence with like a 10 or a 15-year sentence, and then just while he was locked up, he killed several people.
Just never stopped, huh?
Yeah, he got the taste for blood, I guess.
And these guys are pretty cautious, so he must have been pretty patient, waiting for his right opportunity for that.
Who's that, Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you have nothing but time on your hand, I mean, you're gonna look for a way to get it done, and he found his opportunity.
That's what he focused on, huh?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
he had one thing on his mind, and then when that opportunity arose, he leaped like a tiger.
I'm not seeing any direct questions. I was hoping we could get the last 10 minutes. So, but there's so much chat that I'm missing. I'm sure there's going to be some questions for you here.
Guess I should have opened it up on YouTube and followed the questions.
I'm putting them all up on the screen for you. If you see anything that I missed, let me know. Jimmy has a question. I kind of asked this question earlier, Jimmy. Why not Miami Correctional?
Good question. Like I said, I think as far as I know of, Westville and Wabash is the only two secured housing units in the state. If there is another one in the state, I just don't know about it.
And when you say secured, you're talking 24-hour lockdown,
Yeah,
observation, medical, everything.
yeah, correct. So like I said, the only way you leave that cell is they come to your cell door. You have to back up to it and stick your arms like basically behind your back out the door. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to put you in handcuffs. Then they're going to open the door. They're going to tell you to back up, and they're going to put some shackles around your legs. And then what they're going to do is they're going to attach a leash to your cuffs, run it underneath your shackles. So that way, basically, it's a leash holding behind you. And what it is if you try to run or anything, they pull that leash and you go face first into the ground.
Yikes. So does he get to leave his cell, do you think, at all?
Yeah. I mean, actually, I don't know if the Wabash security unit, they might have showers in their cells. I don't know, but more than likely, he's going to get at least, an hour here and there, just to get out of the cell, get a chance to use the phone, shower, whatever the case is. They don't want you, necessarily just like locked in your cell 24 hours a day. They do want you to get some kind of exercise.
Looks like he's been eating. He put on some weight from the last time I seen him.
Well, I mean, that's good. He needs to stand trial for what he did.
I agree.
Whether he did it or not. I mean, if he's innocent, we'll prove him innocent.
Dorian says Richard Allen is innocent until proven guilty and deserves a fair trial. Please keep up your good work monitoring the ongoings. Thank you.
That is true. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but so let me just say this. My first 2 words from my lawyer when I got locked up was not hello, not how are you doing. His first 2 words was you're guilty.
He told you that?
Yeah, my lawyer.
See, that's what I was thinking was happening with these new attorneys with Richard Allen as they came in, and they took a different approach. I think his previous attorneys may have said the same thing, like in their privately, like this guy's guilty, but how are we going to spin this in our favor? Well, now that they're gone, the new attorneys I think came in and might have said exactly what yours said to you to Richard Allen.
And I mean, it's possible both of them did. How the judicial system works is, they bring in, say a lawyer has 20 clients, they're going to go to the judge and say, okay, well, I'm going to let you convict these 18, but these 2, I need you to let them go or give them a lighter sentence. It's all about who you know or how much money you have.
Yeah, it really is about money, especially with hiring defense attorneys.
I left I was at Westville from 97 until I think 2001 or 2002. I think 2001. Yeah, 2001 I went to secure the MCC unit, and 2002 I went to Wabash.
And you said during that time you had people going back and forth constantly, right?
Well, yeah. So, yeah, they constantly move between the 2 units. They'll keep somebody there for like a year, a couple years, and then they'll move them.
All right. Looks like we're running up on the end of our interview here. Jason, do you want to get the final? Is there anything you wanted to talk about directly?
No, not really. I appreciate you having me on here tonight. Appreciate everybody listening to me. If anybody does have anybody or know anybody in prison, check on them because they're definitely not right.
Yeah, I feel like it's just that place when you go there, it's like it's instant abuse. Like that's what you can expect when you go to prison is to be abused.
It is. Unfortunately, even outside of prison, I felt it. Go to fill out an application. Oh, you have a felony? We're not going to hire you.
Oh, branded man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, definitely. Even people that get locked up that are not guilty. Somebody actually just recently got released from prison that was, abolished. They should have never been locked up, and guarantee, they was told how they was guilty every day.
But you think they got the right guy here? You think Richard Allen's their guy?
I,
Are you
I,
are you just waiting for the trial?
oh, I'm definitely waiting for the trial. I think he's one of the people involved. I just hope that they are able to get everyone involved and not just a role player.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to. I think they still have an open investigation going on. Hopefully they can get these guys, but I agree with you. I think there's more involved.
Yeah,
For
hopefully
sure.
they don't drop the ball.
Wow. The defense team was making it hard leaking all that information in my opinion.
Yeah, that was just like somebody working there. It wasn't even one of their lawyers.
Yeah, it was like an intern or something like that.
He was trying to probably make some money or get famous.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
look what
sure
I got.
somebody made some money. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But this definitely isn't something you should be making money off of. That's the problem.
Yeah, when the trial ends, you'll see those photos and you'll see who made the money. You'll see which outlet.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait for that trial though. That's going to be something interesting. Hopefully they don't turn it into a circus show.
Yeah. Well, it's my opinion is they're not going to make it to trial. I think we're going to get a few names out of Richard Allen, and I think they're going to tie in the whole Anthony Shots thing. And I think the next part of all of this will be some kind of a manhunt or another arrest.
Yeah, that would definitely be something interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I do appreciate you having me on. I'm definitely going to go back and read some of the comments from everybody. If anybody does have any questions, I'll try to answer them at some point in one of the other streams. I do look forward to looking to, viewing your other shows.
Thank you. And if you guys are part of the replay crew and you have a question for Jason, just drop it and then at his name there in the comments, and both of us will keep a lookout. And I want to thank you for jumping in the chat the other day and offering your information. That's what we're here to do. Is we're gathering all this information the best we can. We're not here to judge you for what happened to you in the past. We're not, that's not what we're here for. We're here to gather information and insight really on what the hell's going on with this case and how it can help with other cases.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. You have a great night.
You too, Jason. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself. Good night.
Good night.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being respectful to our guest. And just a quick reminder, any views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by participants are solely that of the participant and do not reflect the views, opinions, policies, or positions of the Sleuth Intuition channel. So we are here to gather information. That way we can put all the pieces together if possible. Or at least spend our time trying, right? Shout out to Leslie Kingston for sponsoring today's live stream. Thank you so much, Leslie. And 63 Clocks for gifting a membership to somebody. If you could check your stocking, you might have a membership there. Stephanie says, yep, just never got caught. And that's very possible. Beams Lightning. The guest was somebody, well, recently Richard Allen was transferred from the Westville prison over to Wabash Valley. And everybody's just trying to figure out why. Why would they do this? And it seems to be the consensus is basically just to answer that argument that he's being mistreated. There might be something going on with the guards, Odinites. Just get it over with. Transfer him. Now what are you going to? Are you going to say the same thing at this facility? No. Either that or it's just standard. Doesn't really seem like there's anything to it from what we're putting together. Candace says it's the quiet ones that you have to watch. Yeah, and according to this friend of Richard Allen's, he was the quietest person that he had ever met, that he ever knew of. And I asked him, I go, is there anything that stood out about Richard Allen to you? Anything? And that's what he said. The quietest guy he'd ever met. Not a single word. And if you look at all the videos that Kathy, his wife, kind of put out, you don't see him talking. He doesn't say one word except for that time when they're traveling, and I think he says like one sentence. Like a wheelchair's coming up. That's it. What's up, Mark Collins, Metal Mama, Stephanie, Jimmy Abbott? Jimmy says, I know Richard Allen as well. He was always quiet, but a respective person. Really, Jimmy? Well, I've seen you've been commenting and saying you're local. If you want, shoot me an email. We can chat. Thank you, V. Marie, with the super sticker. Truffles with the super sticker. Thank you, guys. Yeah, Jimmy, if you want to email me, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. I've been trying to reach out to anybody who might know Richard Allen personally. That way we can kind of get an idea of who he was on a personal level. What's going on, Farmer? Metal Mama Michelle, Olivia 2, KT Recovers. Good to see all you guys. Candace O, Daisy, my guy Mark Collins, Jari, CJK. Jimmy says, from what I have read, there was no DNA. Well, they have DNA, and they're kind of being tight-lipped about it. But I think it's not a complete match. It's more something like, well, we know he's related to you. We know this person is related to Richard Allen, or it is Richard Allen. We can't say with 100% certainty that it is him. It's him or one of his relatives. And also this Tuesday, guys, for True Crime in the Morning, we're doing a follow-up. Let me see if I have the thumbnail here. Okay, so we covered the case of Lindsay Buziak. Not sure if you guys were able to catch that. So we covered her case. Real estate agent, cut down in her prime. She was set up, lured by some fake customers, acting as if they were interested to buy a $1 million home, but really was a hit, and they brutally murdered her. Well, we will be sitting with Jeff, who has been fighting for his daughter for quite some time now. And we are glad to help spread some awareness on this case. He's fighting a good fight. So that'll be this Tuesday around 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I look forward to sitting with Jeff and talking with him, getting his thoughts, and asking him how we can help with that case. Mystical Light, good to see you. What's going on, Frank? Stephanie says just never caught. And it could be. We have another suspicious death out of Peru / Wabash with Jordan Sofer. Who strangely looks a little bit like Libby. Look like they could be sisters or related. Hey, what's up, Kristen? Good to see you. Kristen behind the crime door. Another great channel. Good to see you. Wyoming Charlie. Didn't Richard Allen work in Peru? KK and TK in Peru as well. Well, yeah, he pretty much grew up there. His wife went to school there. From what I've been gathering, and I just can't prove it yet, but the information that I have is something to do with 2nd Street in Peru. When they were all young, you had Kline and Allen and Kathy and all them and mutual friends all hanging out around that area. So there might be a connection there. Stephanie says they got Dahmer. Yeah, that is a good point. They did get him. They got him good. All right, guys. Well, we are going to get out of here. So if you could hit the like button on the way out. Leave a comment for Jason if you want to, asking him about today's topic. So if you're part of that replay crew, let us know what you thought about today's live stream. And we should be getting together again tomorrow morning. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. But we are getting prepared to sit with Jeff Buziak, and hopefully you guys won't miss that one. And if you could spread the word on that, we can get some attention on that case, the much needed attention. Right, CJ? Question is, are they unconstitutional? You know? Beams Lightning looks like was asking if he was guilty. So it looks like that's a question for Jason. I'm sure he's going to say yes. Feel like he seems to think he's been rehabilitated. That's what I'm gathering. It's been out for a long time. I think he went in for robbery, which is a serious crime. So we don't take that lightly. Mark says, I hope justice prevails for Abby and Libby and the families finally get to start healing. Oh, they have to. It has to happen. Truffle says the lawyers want to get them to a plea bargain. I agree. They want some kind of deal, but they got to have leverage. Got to be able to put something down on the table. ST3 question. The victims had to walk across the bridge to fall into the killer's trap. If there was any planning involved in the murders, wouldn't we need evidence they were planning to cross the bridge? Yeah. And I've been recently thinking that maybe they weren't expecting them to cross the bridge. Maybe they had to adjust and adapt to that. Maybe crossing the creek wasn't always in the plan. They were running out of time. They were highly motivated, and they had to take advantage of the opportunity. So I think instead of sitting there waiting for them to come back across the bridge and take them down that path, because right at the north end of the bridge, there's a path that heads east, going towards Wilson Bridge and towards the crime scene. So I have a feeling if it was planned and they were motivated and targeting Abby and Libby, they may not have even wanted them to go across the bridge. They may have wanted to take them north down that trail to the crime scene. But the fact that they were just taking so much time and they were already to the other end, maybe they agreed. I'll bring them down the hill and we'll force them across the creek. And they could have even taken off running, Richard Allen knowing damn well that he had two other people waiting on the other side. Wasn't concerned. So I guess to answer your question, that may not even have been part of the plan, and they just kind of adapted to that. But it most likely was. And they may have known because they had access, of course, to their social media. I still believe that the Anthony Shots is connected in some way. Maybe not necessarily Keegan Kline, even though I suspect he is as well. I definitely feel that that is a big part of what we're going to be hearing in the future of this case. All right, guys. Mystical Light, certainly another involved. Before we get out of here, I want to give another special thanks to the entire Sleuth crew, all my members. Thank you. To Leslie, 63 Clocks, V. Marie, Truffles, and Metal Mama. So you guys might have been gifted with a membership from 63 Clocks and Metal Mama Michelle. Make sure you check your stockings on that one. Thank you guys for sponsoring today's live stream. And that's all my time. So I want to give another thanks to Jason Goodridge. Jason has been part of the conversation here recently in the chat. And he sent me an email, offering to provide us some information. And I couldn't resist. I mean, the more insight, the better, right? The more information, the better. What's up, Cynthia? Devoted. Good to see you, Lynn. Good to see you, Cody. Welcome in. Donna, replay crew. Good to see you. You got it? Anything? Good to see you as well. All right, guys, that's it. I appreciate all of you for being so respectful to our guest. Like I said, we're not here to judge. We're here to gather information and put the pieces together the best we know how and spread awareness. So that's what we do here on this channel. And I want to thank you guys for all your help and the part that you play in that. So take care. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Peace.